Hi, my name is Rachel McLeod, and I am a licensed clinical social worker and emotional wellness coach. And today I'm going to talk with you about the topic, can you get rid of negative self talk? And I really love this topic because self negative self talk is really common, and it's a really a powerful feature of all three: anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress disorders. And they're really painful. A lot of times it's happening and nobody else knows it's happening, but you know it's happening and you can feel it, and nobody else knows why you just got in a bad mood, or why you're pissy all of a sudden, why you're sad, why you're crying, why you're upset. Nobody can see that, but really what's going on the inside is a lot of negative self-talk. And then on the outside, people just notice that you're quieter, you're more withdrawn, you're crabbier, maybe you're easily overwhelmed, you're tearful, right? So it's really a frustrating thing, and it can really come in all kinds of forms. It can be really loud. It can be so loud you can't think of anything else. It can also be really quiet and even silent, but it's there. If you look close enough, you can start to hear it. Um, there's it's sometimes it can be really cold, sometimes it's hot. These things happen in so many different ways, and the good news is they're not supposed to be there. That's not how your brain is supposed to be functioning. And you might like be at this point like, duh, Rachel, we already knew that. I know, but I just wanted to be the one to say it for real, that that's not supposed to be there like that. And whenever I encounter that in somebody's inner world, which happens frequently, I know that that is pointing straight to emotional wounding. And because of the emotional wounds that we have, that just points, what comes out of there is negative self-talk. A lot of times, lots of stuff comes with highlights emotional wounding, but negative self-talk is really, really one of them. And it's like this: there's a part of you, that inner critic, that has just turned on you, you know. And I'm going to talk about why that is, and for you to understand that, and for you to understand that yes, the brain does heal these things, and it heals these things quickly. But I want you to understand where it's coming from, so that my whole purpose here is to help you move through these symptoms and eliminate them as quickly as possible. You know that that's my jam. I help women specifically eliminate symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress in 2 to 6 months instead of 2 to 6 years. This one symptom right here, I have helped people eliminate in a week and a half. This is not something that has to be around forever. It's something that can change quickly. And so I want you to raise your expectations, but I want you to see what you're really looking at. So let's pull the curtain back into your inner world and take a look at that. So the reason why that's there is emotional wounding. Um, Someplace, sometime, you were wounded emotionally, and it's easy to do, right? We live in a life where we get physical wounds all the time. We expect that, but we don't look out for emotional wounds. And so these can be scrapes, bumps, bruises, or they can be things like breaks, tears, gouges, things that really cause a lot of damage. But it doesn't matter if it was incredible amounts of damage or a little bit. It's enough to start a habit, or um, a program, a subconscious program of negative self-talk. And so, but the wonderful thing is, when you heal the emotional wound, all the symptoms associated with that emotional wound resolve as well. And so they actually go away, and you eliminate them. And that is fun. That is where the fun stuff is. That's what really why it's really amazing to do emotional wound healing, which most trauma therapists are trained in. That's the majority of the training that we get, when we're trained to work with this part of the brain, and that emotional wounding piece is so powerful. And to heal those emotional wounds, you get so much more freedom. That negative self-talk will turn off a lot of times. There's other sources of that, and I'm going to talk about that here. But it's really phenomenal because the brain heals these things, and you actually check that symptom off. Done. Now, your brain can generate, like I said, negative self-talk in other ways. I mean, for other reasons, and likely those other things will then come up, and you just go through the next one. And because it's so easy to resolve, you can really move through them pretty quickly, depending on what we're looking at. The next reason why people have emotional wounds is because negative self talk is because the negative self talk is actually flashbacks. Um, and that there was something that happened at a particular time years ago, days ago, months ago, decades ago, that became just, it didn't get through the healing pathways. It got stuck. It was said, it was done so precisely that it hit us to the core. And our brain is like reeling with it still. It's like, what happened with that? And what does that mean? And when it's in that state, it's constantly wanting to pull that up. And so, and then it associates them with specific behaviors. Like maybe you're walking past a mirror, and when somebody said something about your body, you're having that flashback and you can hear those words said again. You know, you can hear the way your mom talked to herself, and you're hearing it right then. This is when you're supposed to do that. This is when mom did it. This is when you're supposed to do it. And so you're hearing that as a flashback. And so, and what's fantastic about this is that flashbacks are easy to resolve. The brain, the flashbacks are there because your brain's actually trying to heal something. It's actually trying to resolve a problem in your world. It's trying to resolve an event or a memory that didn't get processed. It couldn't get through your healing pathway, so it couldn't finish it. And so now it's just looping on repeat, and it's bringing it up at random times. Sometimes it's associated, sometimes it's just out of the blue, and it's just like flashback land, and the real deal is what we need to do there is just grab that thing and help your brain process it, help your brain go through its own healing process to resolve that. And brains have a way that they heal, so it's when you learn that dance, you can really help your brain do all the work it really has been wanting to do. And when you resolve the origin of the flashback, then everything associated with that origin also resolves. And so that this is just the cool stuff. So the flashback eliminates, and so does a lot of the other things. And that takes a huge chunk out of your negative self-talk. And right around with these two things, you should start hearing something different besides negative self talk going on in your head. You will probably hear a lot more positivity. You'll hear a lot more authenticity. You will hear more certainty, and you will hear more of your authentic voice instead of other people's voices imprinting over your life experience, right? This is supposed to be you showing up here, not other people. And your brain's confused. And so it's putting other people's stuff in here, and you can't even hear your own self think. And so, and that's really what's fantastic about eliminating flashbacks is that it really takes a piece of the negative self-talk away as well. Um, Another thing that happens with negative self-talk is that sometimes it's a compulsion. And the we want to relieve the emotional pain that we're in. And so there's a feeling that if we do this, it will feel better. And there's a truth to that. If you beat somebody up, you feel better afterwards. I don't understand really exactly why that is. I have not dove into the science of that particular issue, but it's a real thing. And so if you do it to yourself, you're expending some energy and you feel better afterwards. And so if you beat yourself up, you're going to feel better, which is horrible because you're going to also cut yourself up and you're going to be wounded and you're going to come out bruised and battered. And it's a cycle that repeats itself and really does not get better. And really, it's so important to help the brain work out of that cycle so that you can stop injuring yourself and you can stop hurting yourself in that way. Sometimes we're using negative self-talk to feel like we're accomplishing something. It's like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. Well, if I put myself into action, then I feel a little bit better. And that's some of this piece is that the action we're choosing is negative self-talk. And so then we feel at least, well, we did something right. At least we beat that woman up, somebody had to do it. And she deserved that. And then that cycle goes. So, and that's really one of the other pieces is that this has to do, negative self-talk comes from, um, negative beliefs you have about yourself and about self-talk in general, negative self-talk in general. People don't typically get in there and explore their beliefs about these things, but your brain will resolve and eliminate beliefs that don't make sense if you can get your brain, if you can get the information into the right part of the brain. The back part of your brain, your subconscious mind doesn't resolve these negative beliefs. It can't really think about them. It just runs the program, right? It's not your inner healer. You have to get these beliefs into the hands of your inner healer so that that part of your brain can actually do it. And that part of the brain is fast. But what happens is as you're moving these things into the right part of the brain, your survival system's like, what are you doing? You can't have that. That negative belief is too painful. We can't have that around here, and it will shut the work down. And so there's a constant fight between, hey, I need that belief. It's not right. I can see it. I want it. And the survival system say, no, we'll die if we get that. It hurts too much. We're not going there. And so you never get it done. And that little argument right there between your survival system and your inner healer can last a lifetime. So really do not hope that they're going to get over that or they're going to work it out. They're not, right? You need to help them get along. And this, anyway, my brain's taking me out on that's a whole nother talk for a whole nother time. But that's really, you have to do that work to help the parts of your brain resolve their issues. If they're supposed to resolve this on their own, but if they can't, they can get stuck there for a lifetime. And if you've been suffering for a year, a decade, 2 decades, 5 decades, uh, there's never a time where it's too late to resolve that conflict. Okay. And so get in there and do that, because if you can resolve the conflict, you can finally get that thing healed, and the negative self-talk will stop. It happens all the time. Another thing is that sometimes it really is a compulsion. It's a habit, and it's just like it just happens so quickly. And if you don't do it, you can feel anxious because you didn't beat yourself up. And so some people are beating themselves up because their brain is like, we're not safe until you do beat yourself, and then they finally do, and they feel relief, because that's what compulsions are all about. Compulsions are about, they're an anxiety thing, but it's like if you the alarms are, your brain is programmed to make you do the compulsion, which could be emotional eating. It has a lot to do with anxiety, with addiction. It has a lot to do with like obsessive compulsive disorder. Your survival system is like, something's not right, something's not right, we're not safe, we're not safe, we're not safe, and it will push all those buttons. It'll make you sick to your stomach, tighten your chest, make you feel like you're suffocating, even headaches, migraines, until you do the compulsion, until you do the negative self-talk. And then when you're finished, the alarms will turn off, because the survival center says, okay, we're safe, because it's got a program in there that says beating yourself up keeps us safe. And it's not a reasoning center, so please don't try reasoning with that part of the brain, or logicking, or talking to that part of the brain. It really doesn't care. And you've already tried that. It's not going to work. If it was going to work, it would have already worked. And now you've really got to learn how to work with your survival system so that you can change the program, so that you can convince it that it's not dangerous, to interpret things accurately, so you get freedom back, so that you don't have to fulfill the compulsions of like beating yourself up, or emotionally eating, or any other addictions, and so, or compulsions. The survival center, working in the survival center, resolves that and gets you free. And that feels amazing. Okay, so and all of that. So the emotional wounds, the flashbacks, I would say, and the relieving the emotional pain, I would say that is dysfunction in your survival center over here. This other stuff, the compulsions, the negative beliefs, I would say, and I don't think it matters if the brain heals itself in the same way, so it doesn't really matter if we compartmentalize it like this. But this stuff is under the domain of your subconscious mind, the negative beliefs, the subconscious programming, and just feeling like you deserve this stuff, and how the programs are running. That's subconscious programming, and that stuff can change so quickly. It can change so deeply, and this is your autopilot. How you're programmed right now is like, if you were to stop trying all the things and just live your life based on impulse, that's how your subconscious mind is set up and organized. It's programmed for your life right now. If you don't like how your life is right now, that means you don't like how your subconscious mind is programmed. Okay, I hope you grab that distinction right there. Your subconscious mind is programmed to recreate where you're at right now over and over and over and over again. Okay. And that's why so many people try to go on diets, lose weight, but then they come right back. That's why so many people start exercise programs, they stop. They start getting well and they stop. It's to keep us right here where we are in our health, our wealth, our time management, everything. And that can be really frustrating when it's set up in ways you don't like it's set up to make sure that you keep the negative self-talk going on. And so, but that's one of the pieces when you learn how to work with your subconscious programming, and you could and you should. I don't, you shouldn't, I don't really like that word, right? But I encourage you to, because it's very empowering. You are working with one of the most powerful pieces of equipment. If you can work with that, then there's nothing you cannot do. There's nothing you can't talk yourself into about that. Aunt Sandy, can you repeat that a little bit, what you are asking me to repeat? And I will repeat that again. Okay. Um, but when you learn how to work with your subconscious mind, you're and your sub and your survival center, you can create anything in your automatic pilot, your automatic programming. This is what you're doing when you're just breathing or your heart's beating. Like, you don't have to think to do that, right? And and what's coming up with this negative self-talk is that if you can program into your subconscious programming self-love, which is easy to do, and a lot of times you don't even have to, like, that's the result of healing, is just self-love will turn on. Forgiveness, like, there's lots of stuff that's just, it doesn't have to really be programmed in because it's just buried under crap, mental brain trash, emotional wounds, pain, and trauma, right? But so where were we? We were at anyway, but this really gives you alignment internally. You get to resolve a lot of internal conflict. That negative self-talk is is you're out of alignment with yourself. Your survival system's going that way, your subconscious mind's going that way, and this little thinking center is trying to go this way and trying to get you doing things, but it's not more powerful than these players. And but what happens is, if you can get them into alignment, you are really empowered to accomplish any of your dreams and step fully into your full potential, because your team is working well. Nobody's pulling you back. No, there's no more mental blocks. You can work through any of them that arise quickly. My clients work through these in days, in weeks, if you need it. If it's a big complex thing, weeks, right? A week, a couple days with applied intervention, and strategies. And that means that we're free from being sabotaged once we're aware that the sabotage is happening, right? Sometimes that's a tricky part, but you figure that stuff out along the way as well. So especially once you start tuning back into yourself. And you're going to tune more into yourself when you resolve the negative self-talk, because it'll be safer to be inside yourself. It'll be safer to walk around in the world. You'll start observing so many more things because you're not being hammered by negative self-talk. And that hammering by negative self-talk is really distracting. And it's really like consuming. It consumes your attention. It consumes so many things about you that it makes it really difficult to be present. And so I'm going to turn my air on because I'm starting to sweat over here and I just can't take it anymore. Hold on a second. I tried to make it through. Couldn't do it. Um, but what happens is that once you get rid of the negative self-talk, because there's so many less fewer triggers. And so you get to be more emotionally available and present for yourself and your life and your goals and your dreams and your growth. And that's what starts to happen as well. And so this is really such an important piece to get rid of, because it's such a time waste. It's such an exhaustion. And some people are in there and they will really spiral downward for days. Some of us are, sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's whatever. It doesn't matter. Anytime lost in that feels terrible, and it's time not going where you want it to go. And so it's really a wonderful way to pull in your focus and be able to use more of your focus, which is your creative ability, right? Whatever you're focusing on, that's where your creation is, right? You want to put it where you want to put it. You don't want, you're trying to focus and negative self-talk, and it makes you like swerve all your focus around. I mean, who knows what you're creating then? But if you can keep your focus someplace, you can keep it on your kiddos, you can keep it on your work, you can keep it on your passion, you can keep it on your romantic relationship, you can keep it where you want to keep your focus, and you can build from there, and you can have the confidence and then what comes on next is self-trust, and listening to yourself more and more connection to yourself, and more connection to yourself means more connection everywhere else, and everything starts to turn on in your life. And so, can we get rid of negative self-talk? Yes, absolutely. You should expect to raise your expectations, and yeah, it's yes. The answer there is yes. And as a matter of fact, while I have your attention, the answer to can you eliminate any of these symptoms is yes. It's always yes. Your brain is amazing. There is nothing it cannot do. I mean, you don't want to hear me be ridiculous. Okay. You might, but it's not, I'm not going to do that today. Because we're serious, because I'm serious about this. This is freedom, to not have to carry around that negative voice. Or maybe there's a whole audience in there talking about you and talking trash about you. Maybe there's, it can be really bad. And when that's going on in there, you don't want to go in there. You don't want to go to your inner world. You're like trying to stay out of there. You're scrolling on Facebook, you're watching all the Netflix, you're smoking out, you're drinking some wine, chatting with the girls, talking to anybody who comes around, because you just can't be quiet, because you can't be left with those people inside, and you're avoiding, right? And you just, there's more. There's just so much more. And so I invite you to eliminate that negative self-talk, and I invite you to raise your expectations of what could be and what would happen if you eliminated your negative self-talk. Now, I've heard lots of people say, well, I don't even know. I've never not had it. Okay, I get it. But let's imagine what would happen. How much easier would your day be? How much time, how much free time would you have? Would you have available now? What would you do with the extra emotional energy? What would you do with because it's like this negative self-talk makes us bleed emotionally. And so if you're not bleeding out everywhere, what do you do with all that health and all that wellness you have now? You just got back from the anxiety monster, right? And now you have more resources for yourself and your actual dream life and who you actually want to be. And that is amazing. That is freedom. That is more in line with the life you want to live. And then you can keep going after all the other symptoms. Get those things out of your life. Your brain heals those the same way it healed the negative self-talk. And this is really, 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 really cool, because a lot of the work I do with people, it's like, and just in general, when you got anxiety, you spend so much time running from it. You just like, you don't want it to catch you. You don't want it to catch you off guard. You don't want it to find you. You don't want it to be triggered. But all of a sudden, once you eliminate one symptom, you're like, who else wants some of this? Come at me. Let's do this. Let's rock. And you're there, and you're really able to stay grounded instead of jumping up and running away, jumping up and flying out, or wasting your time doing things just to stay afloat, or just to cope with the disaster that comes after it. Enough of that. Enough. So get what you need. And really, if you want to see if I can help you eliminate your symptoms, your negative self-talk in the 2 to 6 months instead of 2 to 6 years, go ahead, and I invite you to grab a spot on my calendar by going to rachelmcleod.com/call, and grab a spot there, and we'll talk about how to get you free of these horrible symptoms and what your life would look like then. Okay, and then we'll create a plan and get you moving. All right. So that's all I have. Sandy, I don't know. I don't remember. So I think we might just have to rely on the replay. Um, and it was 7 minutes ago, so I don't even know where we're at. Oh, probably like at about 14 minutes. No, I'm doing terrible math. 14 to 17 minutes. So into this. But yeah, if there are any questions, go ahead and post those. Otherwise, I'm going to jump off. And I walked here today, so I'm going to go get the rest of my walk on. And perhaps, okay. Awesome. Okay. All right, Sandy. Good to see you. You're so welcome. And I will see you all later at another time. And until we meet again. But yeah, post your comments here. I'm looking at them, and I will either do a live about them or I will answer them right then in the comments. I understood your meaning. And we'll stay connected and we'll keep diving in, and really my intention, like I said, is to really cut your journey just into fractions so that it doesn't have to take so long for you to get the healing that you've been after for decades, for years, for months. Okay. I'll talk with you all later. Take care.